Hello and happy Monday to all of you, wherever you are watching me from around the world. It is so good to see you. I am Krista Bontrager. I am a public theologian and Christian apologist, and this is the channel where I offer teaching about the Bible and theological commentary on social issues. And I do want to let you know that as we are sprinting into the end of the year here, that my ministry partner, Monique Duson, and I are just so grateful for each and every one of you who has supported us this year, whether through your prayers or your finances. We are always grateful to get your beautiful Christmas cards and letters and family pictures and all of the things that you send to us. And just thank you for remembering us at this end of 2025. I'm not going to lie, it's been a hard year for me personally, but I have been so encouraged by so many of you who have texted and written in and just prayed for us, prayed for me, and written such kind notes. And I just want to say thank you. And if you would like to find out more about supporting the ministry and to help keep Monique and I deployed as missionaries in the space of having more peaceful, respectful, and Christian conversations related to cultural hot button issues, including things like race and justice, we would welcome you to find out more about our ministry at the Center for Biblical Unity. And with that, let me tell you a little story about a young girl and a young man named Bob and Krista who fell in love at Biola University a very, very long time ago. Just a few days ago, we celebrated our 33rd wedding anniversary. And we met in a class called screenwriting. And we got put together in the worst group project ever. And we were the only two who showed up for the group project. But we were both film and television majors at Biola University. And that is where we both kind of learned the basics of the craft of filmmaking and why today my husband does so much to labor behind the scenes on our behalf of the ministry to help us have quality productions and videos and all the little things that he does for us each and every day. And unfortunately, I got pushed in front of the camera some years ago. But it was a time when Bob and I fell in love with the art and the craft of filmmaking. And it is something that I haven't really talked about on the podcast too much. It's a part of my life that was a very, very long time ago. And now as a theologian, I don't really talk about those things too much. But I am so excited today to introduce you to an old friend of mine and his wife, who are also a couple who enjoy filmmaking together and have been married a very long time and have been on a long road together to try to break into the business, if you will. And the business of Hollywood is a tough thing. And I am really looking forward to this conversation today. And so you might see a little bit more of the film nerdy side of me come out that you haven't seen before, but I am excited for this show. A couple nights ago, my husband and I were sitting around the house. We're empty nesters now, and we were trying to find something to watch together. My husband mentioned, hey, Cory has a new Christmas film. So I said, all right, let's watch it. So we sat down to watch it. My goodness, it is the most wholesome thing I have ever seen in my life. And it was funny and touching and not dumb, as so many Christian movies tend to be. And so I am excited to share the film with you and to talk to the filmmakers. So we're going to start off by watching the 2-minute trailer, and then I'm going to bring on my friend Cory Edwards and his beautiful wife. Cory was the director, and his wife Vicki was one of the primary writers on the film. And we're just going to have a good time talking about being Christians and filmmaking and making a Christmas movie and what it is like to try to be a Christian when you're trying to break into Hollywood. So with that, let's watch this lovely trailer from their movie, All is Merry and Bright.
So, Anyone here who can bring us up to speed on our exciting December calendar?
Dim the lights. The Christmas plan.
Oh my gosh.
That's when everyone cheers ecstatically.
Yay!
It all begins, we decorate the house. That's not what I ordered.
Hey, those are my shades.
We have the school concert, so everybody needs to practice. Game. Cookies will be provided by Do Re Me. Hello? That was the governor. She just ordered 200 of my cookies.
When are you gonna do all that?
I'm just gonna do it.
And your whole family's gonna be here in 4 days.
Mom?
We're coming today.
No. I still need to paint over a patch in the wall.
You got a cat in the wall?
Patch. So we have Pop and Gran and Uncle Walter and Aunt Alicia, Aria, all under one roof.
She brought the dog.
Honey, I know you're doing all this for people.
You're not going to slow me down.
But don't forget to enjoy time with people.
You told me to start saying no to people, so no! She hasn't told you.
What are you talking about?
This may be the last year that I walk, Paul.
You and I are in this together, all right?
It says I'm only missing one screw.
What happened to my sewing machine? Dad is fixing things
There are just so many buttons.
that don't need fixing.
Mom, you're being really intense.
Well, the stakes are high, Nick.
I don't want to see you get burned out.
Huh, too late. They only gave you morphine, right?
Miracles still happen, man.
All will be merry and all will be bright. Where's the dog?
And with that, I want to welcome Cory Edwards and Vicki Edwards to the Theology Mom Show. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm so glad you thought it was not dumb.
It was not dumb.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's one of the main goals.
Well, when watching a Christian film, this is the low bar that I have. It's very bad.
I know what you mean. I think we both know what you mean. Thanks for having us on. It's been a while. I'm always loving. I love to catch up with you guys and see what you're doing.
Yeah, well, it's always fun to see you too, Cory. And I think I've met you, Vicki, maybe once, but
Right.
I can't even remember what the context was. We've known each other for maybe
Long time.
25 years, close to that.
I mean, we were still living in Downey, California.
Yeah, I think we met in about like 2000.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
Guys, I think you're amazing for how you worked with Cory and how wonderful you made his life and current job back then. So
Oh.
you held a special place in my heart.
Oh, well, that's very kind. Cory and I worked together briefly when at my previous employer at Reasons to Believe, and Cory was really the one who kind of trained me to be behind the microphone, and I kind of watched what he did and learned from him. And Cory when we met each other, your background was you were sort of an aspiring comic / trying to make it into Hollywood kind of a guy. And Bob and I just immediately clicked with you. Like, we kind of felt like we understood what you were about, and but you were also a serious Christian, which we appreciated. And so, yeah, we just really enjoyed working with you in that season. So, well, let's just talk about, I really want to know like some nerdy film things, and like,
Let's get nerdy.
how did you guys, because I saw that Vicki, you had a writing credit on this. And so I'm wondering, like, how did the script, did it come to you? Were you a rewriter? Were you sitting in your living room in Dallas, like, and you had an idea for a film and you're like, hey, let's write a film together? Like, walk us through, like, how did this happen?
Well, the script was brought to us. The original screenwriter and creator was Darby Scaglione, and her husband Greg was working on producing it. And she had written a stage play for their church. She really wanted to highlight family celebration and close family and fun things to do together as a family at the holidays. something that her own family had done.
And they had this tradition.
They had this tradition to put on a family talent show every Christmas. And so she wrote a stage play about that. Her church produced it. It was a big success where it was produced. And so she decided she was going to write a film. But she'd written multiple drafts and nothing seemed quite right. And so they needed another writer. And so they came to Cory and I, and it's really a woman's story. And so I was brought on to do a rewrite and co-write ultimately. And so that's how it came to us. But her script was very mostly about the show and the acts in the show and the fun of family at Christmas time.
Inside a house. It was always inside the house.
It was very insular.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we, that's not really enough of a story for a film. You have to have conflict, unfortunately, to have it an interesting script. So she let me mess with the characters, and that's where we started.
Yeah. We brought the stakes way up. We made the world bigger. As people will see in the film, you go many places in the city, and you kind of see the city, and you see some shopping, and you get a feel for people outside their world. We have a couple of, other funny characters that interact with them from down the street. And and just kind of to amp it up a little bit. And I think that when you see the trailer, it looks, what did you call it?
I was calling it Hallmark adjacent.
Hallmark adjacent.
Like it has some of the same beats of a Hallmark movie.
It has, you see it and you feel like, oh, this has the color and the texture and the tone of like those comfy Christmas family movies that you watch at Christmas time. But then we tried to make it funnier than people expect, and then to have some dramatic turns that are much more emotional than a Hallmark movie, and go much deeper spiritually into the guts of what Jessica's dealing with. So
the character of Jessica was always doing everything for everyone. That's kind of Darby, actually. She was writing herself. And we just realized, I've worked with women's ministries for decades, and across the board, women who do all the time, and some who don't. Most women struggle with feeling like enough. I'm not enough for my husband. I'm not enough for my kids. I'm not enough for my job or for God. And so we really realized early on we can incorporate some deeper spiritual truths here that actually speak some truth to women who are struggling with these things, and not just. And we get to have our cake and eat it too. We get to have a fun holiday movie, but also hopefully impact and heal, some relationships, some habits. We ask God to speak through our words beyond what we could do.
Yeah, I think you achieved that. Does have kind of the look and the feel of a Hallmark film, but about deeper issues with the humor. There isn't a single stranger coming to town and falling in love with the local shopkeeper, but it's just about a Christian family. But
it's about all the conflicts, all the sparks that fly. I don't care who you are. If you get your aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody, one of those Christmases where everybody's in the same house, and certain people want their food this way in the fridge, and certain people want this chair by the TV or the fire. Or
everybody has their
are
thing.
We doing the candlelight service or are we not? Are we doing the Christmas morning service? And everybody kind of can get like amped up about like who gets the poinsettia this year, who does the centerpiece. And so you can tell a very tragic story, or you can tell a very funny story. So we looked at like family chaos comedies, like you look at Christmas Vacation and Home Alone, but we also looked at Parenthood, or My Big Fat Greek Wedding was one we looked at. It was just this big family that kind of collides with each other, and even though they love each other, there's just some collisions that are bigger and bigger and need to happen. And we have some in our movie where these two sisters, they have to say some things they haven't said for years, and they need to.
So part of the story is, I think there's a, and I would love to know if this was intentional or what went into this decision in the storytelling. But like, the first thing I noticed is that these teenagers in the story are normal. They don't have iPhones. They aren't on their devices. And they love their parents, and they're not saccharine, like so sweet that you're like, nobody like this exists, but they just seem so respectful, which is something that we don't see too much of today. that, and they don't think their parents are generally stupid, but they also, you know, are kind of going along with their mother's scheme of being a little overly planning of the holidays, but
A little bit.
they do it in a respectful way. And that was immediately what struck me about the film, is that it was just so different than so much of the stuff that we see today. Like, this is a portrait of a family that we would all love to see ourselves in, that we would love to see our children be a part of, when we would love to be that family. That's kind of, which was sort of to me like a throwback to my childhood of like watching Little House on the Prairie or watching the Brady Bunch. Like, these were idealized families that, for me, coming from a broken family, I could kind of see myself in the family. And when Pa would give advice, you know, I always kind of felt like, oh, that's life advice for me, even though I don't have a dad. And so when I saw the film, I thought, you don't really see that anymore, of a family that, even though, you know, like, these people aren't real, it was like an idealized picture of a family. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm just curious, like, was that intentional on your part? Like, what went into that decision?
Yeah, well, that was one of Darby's primary goals with the film, was to show a connected, loving family enjoying each other and doing something fun together. She wanted that to inspire other families to do the same, was her goal. And then her humor, I think, is a lot more sincere and genuine than mine. I tend to have a lot of sarcasm in my humor. So that's probably why it feels a little more real, is because a lot of the humor is definitely my style of humor from Jessica. But I think, you know, our kids, we have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. We have cousins who are the same ages, nieces and nephews who are the same ages. And then I work a lot with the students at our boys' school. And so we're around a lot of teenagers, but they're not typical teenagers. They're at a classical education school where there are no electronics, where, I mean, kids have phones, but not in the classroom. It's not a typical teen environment. And so it was very intentional to have it feel like what it felt like when we were growing up, in that world where families were close and the parents were the ones in charge and had wisdom to share with their children. And even when things were tough, we're still going to figure it out. We're not going to, you know. And so that was definitely intentional. And no one's perfect, you know.
That was the thing, is that it wasn't the perfect family, but they were definitely for each other.
Yeah.
But they were, the parents were in charge and the children weren't running the show.
Yeah, that whole swing toward that in entertainment, where the kids are in charge, they're the ones solving the problems. The dad is especially stupid, if not both parents. Like, that really grates on Cory and I as storytellers. It's not healthy for our society. It's not beneficial to the family. And it's not realistic, honestly. So we were happy to be part of something that was combating that narrative.
Well, there's always this discussion between artists and the world, and it's there's one philosophy. Hey, I want to show the way life really is, and life out on the streets is mean, and people curse, and I want to show you all the ugliness, and that you'll respect me in my art because I'm showing you this authenticity that I'm seeing right now. But then there's another approach an artist can take, which is, this is what we aspire to. And I think
that's a good word, aspire. Yes.
Here's a family to aspire to, and it's not, we definitely speak the language of sarcasm with our kids, but there is a line, and I think that every day on the set, we were riding this line of, like, we want comedy, we want modern comedy, we want a little bit of cynicism to speak to the cynics out there who are going to see this movie, but there's always love underneath it. There's always, when the siblings are joking and elbowing each other, we know that they love each other, and it doesn't cross that line. And that is just kind of a needle to thread that we tried. And it's funny you say they didn't have cell phones. It didn't occur to me till now. Like, I'm sure they have cell phones in their pockets. We just don't do a lot of scenes with them, like, looking at them like this. And I think that I like the idea of, like, as Vicki said, normalizing certain behavior, because I do believe that the more you see in a movie and the more you see on TV, kids will start to model it, adults, parents will model that parenting. And that's not a bad thing, to just keep pushing that in our society instead of, the worst parts.
But it was also important to show, for me, and I think Darby as well, to show that Christians are not perfect, but we're attempting to be more Christ-like. And that can backfire, like when Jessica is sneaking unhealthy snacks and she knows she's supposed to be eating healthy, and she's punishing herself, she's guilt tripping herself. Like, that's the downside of trying to be more Christ-like and looking like you're Christ-like. And we wanted to portray,
there's some hypocrisy.
Like, that's not sustainable, and that's not healthy, and that doesn't serve anyone. Like, we wanted to show both sides of the coin. Like, there's love for everyone, and you're trying to be a better person, but hiding your flaws just to appear to be a better person is worse than just having the flaws. And her flaws are not, huge even, it's more against herself than anyone else. But.
Yeah, after my little speech, I do want to say, we wanted our characters to be real. We wanted they're Christians, they would check that box, they would go to church, but there's some hypocrisy they need to be called on. Yeah. A lot of these characters. And hopefully people watching the movie will be like, I kind of do that too. Yeah. And we want to be real. We want to show real people.
Yeah, there were a couple times in the notes process of the script where I'm like, every mom does this. You can't take this out. Like, this is universal. It's how we cope, like 10% of moms don't do it. Good for you. It's the bare minimum of what happens, in Christian homes as well. And so we just wanted to be more realistic than a typical faith-based film. And
Yeah.
I would hope that's what hits home.
I would hope some people don't even know it's a faith-based film when they start watching it. They just want to see a family comedy, and then it just kind of sneaks up on them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that there was just so many things I was thinking about. But I like your description of it as a family that you aspire to. I want to comment though about how strong the acting is as well. And I'm wondering, like, when you guys got the project, were the actors already attached, or did you have to recruit these people? Because you had Sally Struthers in there, you had the guy from Seinfeld,
John O'Hurley. Yeah,
John O'Hurley. He played Jay Peterman in Seinfeld. They did such a great job. They almost stole the show to me.
Right.
There's a couple lines there. I don't know if Bob's parents are going to watch this, but totally reminded me of conversations with Bob's parents at times.
That's what we want. We want a knowing laugh. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of so-and-so in our family.
Yeah.
If you have a nostalgic chuckle, I mean, we wanted the comedy to be clever, but also like that there's a knowing. Like, wow, this movie knows me. This family knows people in my family.
Yeah.
Well, when the producers first read some of Sally's lines, they were like, oh my gosh, she's so mean. I'm like, oh no, all of these lines are said with a smile. Like, she does not know how mean she's being.
And you mentioned the casting really did. I mean, God really showed up in a lot of ways on production of this film. The casting process happened pretty quickly once we knew we had a script that we liked and we were moving forward. And I was telling you before we started rolling, a little over a year ago, Vicki had very little time to do the rewrite. And then we finally said, are we doing this? Yeah, let's make a movie. And literally like 11 or 12 months later, it was in theaters. And that is just unheard of.
That's crazy.
So location scouting, just planning the movie visually, but then also casting. Sally, these are just relationships that we've had for a couple decades that we kind of called those chips in. Sally is an old friend, and she's actually really good friends of some family members. And I just, that's how we got to her. And she's got a resurgence right now. She's kind of appearing on that Ted Danson show, Man on the Inside, which is an excellent show. And so, that was, she became, I think Vicki was watching that show and she said, wait a minute, what about Sally?
She'd be great for him.
and she said yes. And then John O'Hurley, I think his kids went to preschool with our kids. Yeah.
Our oldest was in preschool with his son.
Oh, okay.
Now in school, in college nearby, so it's small world.
Well, they did a wonderful job. And I have to tell you that I'm a big Nancy Stafford fan. Like, I'm a huge Matlock fan. I still watch Matlock like all the time. I have it on Pluto. It's like on my 4 favorite channels is watching Matlock. So I told Cory on the text, I said, my only criticism was you didn't have Nancy in more than one scene.
More Nancy.
More Nancy next time.
Yeah.
And she did. I think the producers have a relationship with her, and she came in as a favor on that.
Okay.
And yeah, so there were favors like that. Or I think there was a relationship with Eric Close as well. Like the Greenhouse, the production company, is also a ministry, and Eric Close had been at some events. And but I think when you see those people, it kind of legitimizes the movie for some people. Like, oh, this has real people in it that I've seen in real movies.
But even the child actors
were unknown. Yeah,
were unknown, but very good. I thought they did a really great job. I'm sure as a director, you brought some things out for them, Cory. But I mean, I just thought overall the cast was very strong, and
Well, I will
it
say,
worked.
From before we were even brought on board, Darby had a prayer team of probably 30 or 40 people constantly praying over every aspect of the project. And there were so many times that we saw God's hand reach down into the project and just do something beyond what we could have orchestrated. And the cast was part of that. Like, they were in, like, the chemistry between the couple, but even just the chemistry between the family was instant. And that doesn't always happen.
yeah. 2 or 3 days in, I had to keep reminding myself that they weren't an actual family.
Right.
They really gelled fast. We did not have rehearsal time. We did not have time to like take everybody bowling and get to know each other. Go out to eat. It was like day one. I'll tell you, if you want to get nerdy, like the end of the film, and if you've seen it, you know, I won't give it away, but like a lot of big things happened. That was the 3rd day of shooting.
Oh wow! So you were
those
shooting
people-
the end almost at the beginning.
Yeah, there's
rough.
tears, there's some hugging, there's some real connections made that you feel like, oh, this must have been at the end of the shoot. That was the 3rd day.
Wow.
And we had a lot of musical acts to get through. We had a lot
Yeah.
of emotional stuff to get through. And all these people are just professional. And I got to say, nobody dropped a line. That, you know, we don't have a bloopers reel because there were no bloopers. I mean, there were plenty of mistakes made, but the actors were just a gift. And that's something that I can't totally take credit for. I mean, we really looked at a lot of audition tapes, and you make your choices, but I think God really provided us with a great cast.
I really have to sing the praises of Emily Rose because I wrote a lot of lines that had nuance. You know, she's saying one thing, but feeling and thinking another and trying to hide something else. Like, there were a lot of nuances to the lines I wrote, and she really nailed it in so many scenes to capture all of it in the moments. And that's hard to do. So she was phenomenal.
Yeah, and you gave her lines that were like lists of things to
Right.
rattle off.
And she was amazing.
Every day she was ready to go.
One take, yeah.
Now, what was your production schedule like? Like, how long did you have to film the movie? Because you're starting like a year ago, and then it's in theaters by November.
Yeah.
People don't understand, like, that's impossible turnaround. I mean, to film and do post-production and to get it in theaters, like, that's not normal. That's not natural. So
Yeah, like in July and August, we were still trying to finish the film for theaters to even see a cut to commit to. We were doing something very unusual that it went to theaters, which was amazing. But our executive producer was negotiating with like each theater chain. So he's going to Regal, he's going to AMC, he's going to Cinemark, and they're like, "Well, we need to see the movie," and he's like, "Well, it'll be done in about 2 weeks." So all that was amped up. But I will say we shot it in Atlanta. And there was a huge leap forward because our producers, Shun-Li Fong and Karen Kelly, they had relationships with, you know what? I don't even know the person's name because this coordinator, this producer in Atlanta, she is working on Sweet Magnolias and some other big productions. And she was the connection. She said, I will just give you my Rolodex. Do people have Rolodexes anymore? I will give you a list of the most high quality crew people, just good people. They're good at their job. And they'll be excited to work. You know, Atlanta really needs some work right now. And so we kind of inherited like a lot of people that had worked together. Like the last thing they worked on was Superman or some other Marvel movie in Atlanta. And we were this teeny tiny movie that got these top of the line department heads. So it was a small but mighty crew, but very experienced crew. So everything happened. We shot over 22 days, no reshoots.
Oh my word!
Really, I think one day we went overtime in the middle of the night.
The whole schedule was so lean and mean. It was amazing.
And even had Sundays off. So like, but I got to tell you, at the end of those 22 days, and I have done a lot of animated movies, and this was like a big live action movie for me to direct. And I thought, will I be a broken shell of a man at the end of 22 days? And this crew and these producers, at the end of 22 days, I was like, let's do 22 more. When's the next one? I mean, we had so much fun under pressure, and I tried to keep a spirit of playfulness on the set, but it also came from the crew. And everybody, there was not one weird crew member that nobody got along with. Everybody got along. The cast hung out with the crew. The cast hung out together. And I think that kind of energy spilled over onto the screen. And there were some scenes where we had 2, maybe 3 takes, and we had to keep moving.
Now I know, Cory.
That was the other answer.
Now I know, Cory. A previous film you worked on, Hoodwinked, which people might remember. My kids grew up watching Hoodwinked. And I remember you making a comment once to Bob about this, and you probably don't even remember this, but you made a comment about how when you were working on Hoodwinked, like the constant push from the studios was to be edgy humor, and they wanted to push you into being edgy. And I was thinking about that as I was watching this film, and I'm like, there's really nothing about this that's real edgy. Like it's so like kind of wholesome, middle of the road, like, just really trying to focus on the positive things in life. Yeah. But it made me think about, I wonder if you could share a little bit about your journey as a Christian filmmaker, and, like you're living in Dallas, you're not living in Hollywood. Like,
Right.
It's been a long road for you. And now here you are working on a low budget Christian Christmas movie. Like, I'm kind of thinking that wasn't what you had in mind back 25 years ago.
No, it wasn't. Well, God has taken us a lot of places. We ended up living in Montreal for 3 years because it took a particular job for an animated movie, and they needed me up there, and I needed my family up there. So we all went to live there. So we've done a lot of things that a lot of families wouldn't do, a lot of couples wouldn't do, but we kind of believe in what we're doing. And I don't know, it's funny. I've been really eager to make a live action movie after working in animation so long, and I started in music videos and commercials, and so I have live action set experience, but never on a feature. And so that was an opportunity here. We have developed some scripts that have taken years and years of development. We've come very close to funding some of those, and then this thing just like showed up one day, and it's kind of like, it really was like God kicked open a door and went, "Here you go. You got one year to do this." It was very little time between knowing about the project, deciding to do it, and just doing it. And that's where I feel like I'm just trying to be open to what God puts in front of me, and not, I don't know. I think everybody in this business has to like make a plan and get aggressive and go after your plan. I do believe in that, but so often we become slaves to our plans, and or your big dream to make movies becomes your God. It's not God helping you with a dream. Your dream becomes your God, and it can happen without us even knowing it. My work has become my God in some points in my life. And if I don't have work, if I'm not being hired right now, then what am I? Am I nothing? Am I nobody? Because a lot of men, they're driven to identify with work. So I've learned to kind of hold loosely to what the next thing is. And even when I got this project, I made a distinct decision. Like, I'm a real storyboarder, if you want to get film geeky. And I did not storyboard every scene of this movie. I did not storyboard every shot. I kind of went to set with a plan, but then I was holding it loosely because I wanted to see what the actors were going to do, and I wanted to see what the location was going to provide, and it was just a lot more fun. You go in with a plan, but then you're loose about it. And God provided so many very interesting, spontaneous things. So I don't know if I'm answering your question all the way, but I think that holding loosely to everything is what I've learned to do. And honestly, after this experience with this little low budget movie. I would rather make 10 little movies than one giant Marvel movie. And I think that originally I moved to LA with the big dream of making a big $200 million fantasy film. I'm a little leery of that now. We have some things in development that are pretty big that would take a big budget, but there's so much more freedom. And I've gotten, the bigger the budgets get, the dumber the notes get, the more overthinking happens, the more, it's a miracle any big movie gets made with all the overthinking that happens. So I had a wonderful time on this, and I don't think it's the size of the budget and if this is indeed, yes, a Christian movie, I was like, well, what would I do? I don't seek out to make Christian product. I'm just a Christian who puts what I am as a Christian into anything I do.
Yeah.
So we tried to make it the most entertaining family film we could, and it does have a faith-based message. And let's do it. Let's do it the best and most dramatic and most entertaining way we can, so it means something.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I'm a teacher at heart, and so for me, it goes back to women's ministry, and I've worked on curriculum, and I'm like, how can you grow from entertainment? How can it challenge you to a new positive direction, or realize something about yourself you might not have realized, or realize the motive behind someone else who's always driven you nuts? You're like, oh my gosh, is that really what's happening with them? Just to have some growth from a story is primary for me. So
Yeah.
I think that we focused on making this the most entertaining movie it could be, and we knew that the mandate was a faith-based market, and we had been handed something by someone else that I felt really important that we were shepherding it appropriately. So, I think there were some non-negotiables there that we wanted to make sure. I don't want to give things away in the movie, but there are certain things that God does for this woman in her life that were very important to Darby. And so we didn't mess with those, but we were like, well, how can this be executed in a way that even the most cynical person will get a little choked up and feel like this is real? There are some things that some people might say in this movie are miraculous. And I'll tell you that even some of our producers were like, do we want to go that far? And I'm like, it's a Christmas movie, Miracle on 34th Street. It's a time of miracles. So I think that at Christmas time.
And I'm like, miracles still happen.
Yeah. And I think
but even if they don't, God is a good God.
Right. Well, we even talk about that. We even talk about, whether you have a miracle or not, whether God gives you the yes you want, is he still God? Are you still trusting in him to get you through the no?
But I think, to go back to your original question, those kinds of things that really matter to us personally, we could never implement into a studio film. That's not what they're looking for.
Right.
And what you talked about it being more, what was the word you used? I already forgot.
I don't know, expected or?
No, pushing the envelope.
Oh, being edgy.
Being edgy.
Being edgy.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to be weird in some places in this script, but we can't, when it's a big budget studio film like that, we can't implement the things that have the most value to us personally. And so there's a whole other level of satisfaction working on a smaller production, even though it's leaner and meaner. It actually means more.
Well, I want to jump in here and say, Vicki wrote a disagreement. I'll call it a fight between two of the sisters in the middle of this movie, and it's like 4 or 5 pages. That would not happen in a studio movie. To me, that's edgy. To have two characters in a kitchen at night, and they just go at each other with words, and it goes on.
A fight only sisters could have.
And and it goes on a little longer and cuts a little deeper, and I find that to be edgy. Frankly, I've seen, as you say, a lot of Christian movies that pull punches, or they get a little soft on the sentiment at the end. And we wanted to earn any emotion that we get from dragging our characters through some hard stuff.
Yeah.
So we made sure that was legitimate.
Yeah, I think you accomplished that. I know that you guys we're roughly the same age, and grew up in similar eras, and I think for me growing up, like going to the movies was an event. It was a type of art that even I, as a Baptist kid, would have favorite movies, and as I went through film school, like appreciating the acting, the writing, the cinematography, the artistic components of the storytelling, and good storytelling versus bad storytelling and bad acting. And all of that. But I feel like the Hollywood that we grew up with is kind of going away. Like in story, good storytelling, like you said, Corey, it's more about everything now is just about authenticity and is it gritty? Is it edgy? But it's not really even entertaining, and it's not
Well,
fun.
don't get her started. I want you to talk about. I want you to talk about what you keep saying every time we try to see a movie and go to the theater. We find ourselves going back in time
Yeah.
and getting on a streamer and finding an older movie. And what were you saying about like where are the stories that we want to see?
I'm just a little desensitized from action and crass and pushing the envelope. It's like they call it authentic, but it's not. It's authentic to a base self, maybe, but it's not authentic to a life well lived. And I really miss, the films that had messages of integrity and nobility, being a noble in character and self-sacrifice. And I'm not even talking about Christian films. I'm talking about Christian principles in characters in films.
Yes.
And it's that everyone's vying for our attention. Everyone's vying for our clickbait. The amount of time someone spends on a channel before they switch the channel is seconds. So if they can't grab you with something that is shocking or you've never seen before, or I can't believe they're doing that, or even something that is appealing to a base nature that might get you to stay on that show, like they're just trying to get your dollar. They're trying to get your attention. And so obviously they're not 100% of films are like that, but that's now the majority. The same with news stations that are 24/7. They're just trying to keep you watching. And so I think that has hurt the quality of entertainment quite a lot. And some of the studios do have agendas as to what messages they want out into the world. And those are messages we don't agree with in our personal lives. That doesn't mean other people don't, but it just doesn't attract us to the theater.
Yeah.
But really, COVID changed how people watch movies.
Mm-hmm.
So people stopped going to the theater, obviously, for at least a year. And now it's spread out into 5 years. People still aren't back in the theater the way it used to be. And then streamers. So during COVID, streamers started, and also because of COVID, people started upping their entertainment technology in their home. So if they can watch a movie in their awesome surround sound 56-inch television at home, why would they spend $50 to go to the theater? And so that's also changed what studios put in the theater because it costs so much more money. They have to make so much more money per film that they don't put the independent sweet stories anymore. They have to put the major blockbusters so they make their money back.
Yeah, and the small movies do pop up in theaters, but it really is on we, the audience, to seek them out and find them, because you got a Cinemark or an AMC, and they'll put one little film on one screen for about a week, and you'll find out. I mean, there have been a couple indie films where we're like, oh, we should go see that. And man, if you're not free those 3 days,
It's gone.
you miss it. And so the fact that our film went to theaters for a week, maybe 2 weeks in some markets, was, people are asking, how did the movie do? Well, now it's on Amazon Prime. So now we're waiting to see. That's really the longevity of the movie. But it's not like when it went to theaters, it was like in the top 5. It was like in 120, 130 theaters. But that alone was a victory for us. We were like, we got a movie in theaters. And so that we had 3 or 4 chances to run to a theater and see it with a room full of people was just wonderful. And not many filmmakers get that chance. So we got that chance. And now it lives on forever on Amazon Prime and probably elsewhere in the years to come. But yeah, I just wanted to turn that into why it's really hard to let people know when there's a little film out there. And I think that going to the movies is kind of like how some people still like to collect vinyl records. I mean, I think we're going to have cinephiles who seek out films in theaters, but it is really hard to get mom and dad and the whole family off the couch and get them to go. It's tough.
I will say to your audience, opening weekend box office is like a voting ballot to studio systems. So if you want more faith-based films, or if you want more family films, buy tickets opening weekend to those types of films. That's like placing a vote in the ballot box. I want more films like this. And studios will put more funding toward it. Distributors will look for more films like that. it's all about the money. So if they're making money and you have placed your vote in the money box, they will make more of that type of film.
Yep.
I think a lot of people don't realize how important opening weekend is to decisions being made like that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that because I don't think that most Christians understand really the workings of how Hollywood works and how it, that it's just easy to kind of say like, well, why don't they make any good movies anymore? Well, there's a certain system and Hollywood wants to make money and this is how they think about making money. And a lot of it is about front loading that opening weekend, but it is a major accomplishment. First of all, that you got an indie film written and made and edited
Under a year.
and in theaters in under a year. Like this is just
And
borderline miraculous.
We can't take full credit for that. Greg, our executive producer, he willed that to be. He was on the phone every day, and this was a grassroots level indie effort. And like, we don't have a distributor the way you typically do. Greg called up every theater chain, formed relationships with them, and apparently they'll talk to each other. So it's like once you conquer like Regal, then you can maybe they'll call their buddies over at Cinemark. So we got and I have to give a shout out to B&B Theaters. They are a family-owned theater chain all across the country, and they were the first people to say yes, we want a Christmas movie in theaters. And they carried it for the full a couple of weeks, and that did wonders for us. But again, it's just it was the people that made the movie also selling the movie directly to the theater. And I think we're going to start to see more unusual ways to make movies and get them to audiences. I think there still will be a theatrical experience, but it's really, as you said, it's really starting to change. It doesn't always have to come from 20th Century Fox and Sony. Angel Studios. Angel Studios, Fathom Events, people are finding ways around it. And I think that any time that any industry feels a crunch like we've been feeling, just new crazy things are going to pop out of that experience. And people are just sick of waiting around for the giant cruise ships, which are the studios, to turn or change. So I'm hoping we see more and more unusual, like there's a new way to watch movies communally.
And a new way to make movies. I mean, people have come on my page, they don't like it, that I've said some positive things about Angel Studios because they're owned by a couple of LDS gentlemen. But to me, I'm looking at it from a filmmaking perspective. They're trying to do something outside of the system, which I can appreciate. And so I'm, like most movies in Hollywood are made by secular humanists, atheists, pagans, whatever. And so to me, that a couple of LDS guys with some money got together and said, hey, let's make some family-friendly alternatives. I'm like, I want to be about producing better art. If they're making a way for Christians to participate in that, and they're not saying, well, we're only going to platform LDS filmmakers, like, okay, let's have a conversation.
And it's not just the money to make the films that they are.
But the distribution is another big piece of it that many Christian films historically have lacked.
Right.
That you can, if some miracle happens and you can finance, cast, write, produce a film and you do all of that, but you don't have distribution, your film will not be seen. And this has been a big piece that has been missing from quote unquote Christian filmmaking. Now, back in the 90s, there was kind of this push to do faith-based films from within the Hollywood system. And they did a few of those, but in recent years, that genre has fallen on some hard times. And so I'm a little bit, I'm more welcoming of the Angel Studios and other similar competitors that are willing to go outside of the system, willing to fund indie filmmakers, but also providing a way of distributing the films, which is a vital piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It'll be a real interesting time in the next 5-10 years in this industry.
Well, I was joking earlier about, a lot of Christian films just not being very good. So, like, what are your Like, do you have any thoughts? Like, I grew up, I'm probably the oldest person here. Like, I grew up in an era of like going to Sunday night church and seeing A Thief in the Night, and it's sort of Christian horror. But there was the old Billy Graham style where they would bicycle the film, distributing it in churches, in theaters. You might get a one night run or something of a Christian film. But a lot of the acting always just seemed subpar. The writing seemed contrived. It just wasn't good. I think your film, and I know people on my channel, they got all kind of opinions about The Chosen, and there's people that love it, there's people that think it's an abomination, and I understand all of that. But I do appreciate the high production value of The Chosen, and I think that it has pushed the conversation forward about Christian art when it comes to filmmaking. And I think that's still a worthwhile and important conversation. I don't know, what thoughts do you have about the state of Christian filmmaking, either past or present?
Well, my hot take, if I can say that, is always when I look at any film, I think every film and every filmmaker has a message, whether it's Christian, whether it's an environmentalist. Entertainment first, message second. If you are so excited about your message that you forget about the cinematography, the lighting, it's bad when you can turn on a film and you can tell it's a Christian film just by the lighting or by the poor sound quality. I mean, if you don't have the money to light it right and to get good sound and to, I don't know, if you need to pay SAG actors and, if that's what it takes to get those quality of actors, it's like, maybe don't make the movie until you can at least do those things. Because I don't believe that we're even competing with every Christian movie. I feel like anytime you ask somebody to watch a movie, you're competing with every movie ever made. You're competing with anything they can watch right now, which is thousands of things. So entertainment first. Is the joke as funny as it can be? Is this emotional moment as moving as it can be? Is this actor's performance the best take, or should we do another take? Should we do 10 takes till we get it right? Or, with whatever resources that we have, if we're losing daylight or whatever. But I think that there is a bar that every artist, every filmmaker, every writer has to set for themselves to say, I'm competing with anything. I'm not just competing with the latest so-so Christian movie or so-so indie movie.
Right.
I have to stand shoulder to shoulder with any other movie that I see on my TV or go to the movies to see. So if that's your goal, if your goal is to entertain, to get people in seats first, and if you naturally have the message in you, if your ideals are already there in the script, it's going to come out of the performances in the script. But I've just seen too many Christian films, I think, get so excited about the message that they've forgotten about just some key ingredients that make it a good product.
And I think for a lot of years, Christians distanced themselves from the industry because it was seen as corrupt and evil. And that just makes for a lack of Christian talent within the entertainment industry. So there's a great quote that says that the arts are corrupt does not mean that Christians should abandon them. On the contrary, it means that Christians dare not abandon them any longer. And so that's kind of our philosophy is, well, if you want to put good art out there with a strong message, you need to know your craft. You need to study the medium you're using to tell that story. And if you're not, that's a problem. Like, keep it in your church then. Like, it's not,
Work hard and seek out people who work hard and seek out the top people. If it doesn't, damage the integrity of your production and the integrity of your message. A lot of the people on our crew were not Christian people. Spoiler alert. A lot of people are just working people. And Vicki really challenged me to pray every day on set. And that was kind of awkward for me because I know some of these people, they don't care about that stuff. And they just want to get on and have their safety meeting and start rigging the lights. And so to take a moment, it was just like a 30-second prayer of like, God, let us be excellent. Let us be as creative as we can be. Thank you that we all get to do this for a living. And anybody can agree to that, even if they're not going to fall on their knees and accept Jesus because they're just here for the grip department. But I think it did have an effect. And I think that but I guess my original point was, it's okay to hire a lighting guy or a sound guy who's not a Christian, because I think the working together is its own ministry. As long as you have the top people who all have the same ideals and are pushing for the same product. I've just seen some Christian productions where they turn up their nose at getting somebody because they were smoking cigarettes. I don't have time for that. I want the best people on the set who have the most experience. And if I and the producers and the writers, if we're holding the line on what the integrity of the movie is going to be, then we have just let's pull together just the most excellent artists we can, the most excellent technical VFX people. You just can't vet everybody and make sure that it's a purely Christian project. I don't know what I'm saying.
There's a great book by Schaefer that is called Addicted to Mediocrity that addresses that very issue, and just saying we of all people should be approaching our work with the most excellence. Like if we are carrying the most valuable message, then the vehicle it's riding in should be made with excellence, should be something people are drawn to, not repulsed by. And
you worked for a Christian publisher for a while, and just the very thought of you need to cut these 2 pages, or you need to edit this some more, and it was like, God forbid that you would talk to this Christian author.
Oh, no, most of that was people submitting their manuscripts unsolicited. There was one woman who, we have a process, a system, and if you don't request your manuscript back, you dispose of it. And she told me that was like disposing of the Bible. And I was like, oh, I was not aware of that your manuscript was scripture.
But I think that's the thicker skin of a Christian artist, is take the note.
Well, I think people get attached to the message and feel that the message is from God. God gave me this message, so it should be automatically accepted and distributed regardless of the quality of work. And listen, God can do anything. So sometimes maybe that is the way to go. Maybe you are supposed to just get the message out there. But generally speaking, the viewing public, is not in on that. And they, like Cory said, they're comparing your vehicle to all the other vehicles they see. And
as much I'll say, let's get a little film nerdy. As much as we loved the script, it was about 130 pages. We had to cut 15 of them. And she fought me on many of the pages. And I fought her on many of the jokes. She's like, no, I took out a line and she was like, you got to keep that line because that line means everything. And then I was like, oh, why does it mean everything? And then she would tell me. But then we had a cut of the film where we're like, we got to shave another 15 minutes off this.
Wow.
So we cut scenes in half. There are scenes that are gone that I was like, that's too bad. I really love that as a scene. But those are the things that, if you talk about Christian artists and being excellent, you got to take notes. You got to listen to other people. You got to listen to the people close to you. Obviously follow your instincts and your gut as a filmmaker, but I think too often, I don't know, you can't fall in love with every little thing. You've got to look at the end result of it being an excellent piece of entertainment. And then the message will reach people, but it's got to be excellent too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, this has been a fun little jaunt through your work and thinking about Christian filmmaking. Thank you so much for doing this. I want to let everyone know once again that you can see the Edwards work of All Is Merry and Bright on Amazon Prime playing right now. I've added the link in the description, so if people want to check it out, they can do that across all platforms. And
you can watch it after Christmas. You can watch it just before New Year's. And it's pretty cheap to rent too if you don't have Prime. I think it's a great fun family comedy.
That's right. So check it out. All Is Merry and Bright. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
This has been fun. We'll have to have you on again sometime to talk about more movies. This is great. So,
love to do it.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. All right, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Please share this video out with someone that you know that you think might enjoy this conversation. You can strap your teenager in the minivan if they're interested in filmmaking and listening to a couple of Christian filmmakers talk about their adventures. There's just so much to think about when it comes to art. And again, it's not a topic I have talked about a lot on the show, but maybe it gave you some things to think about as a mom, as a parent, as you're discipling your kid. If you have a kid in your family that's interested in filmmaking or interested in art, it's very important to help guide their heart and to disciple them in how they think and their imagination, discipling their imagination to be able to reflect God's principles, to know some things about the Word of God so that the things that they're creating can come from that place. It's just a really important thing because God has created some children in our family, some young people that we know in our lives with an innate ability. I raised two children that are very artistically inclined, and I am not. But it was, part of our conversations as parents of how does the Christian worldview come to bear on these issues as you are creating in the way that God has gifted you to. So these are very important conversations. I hope you enjoyed this and that you'll check out the Edwards work in their film All Is Merry and Bright. Please visit us at the Center for Biblical Unity. Just go to centerforbiblicalunity.com. You can also check out our mobile app and get all of our content there. And I will see you next year. Grace and peace.